Last week I was revisiting some information learned during the state's most recent Consensus Revenue Estimating Conference. This is the conference where economists look at the data and let everyone know how much money there will be to spend here over the next year. Looking at the numbers, it became abundantly clear that the windfall of cash we have grown accustomed to over the last few years is now gone. In a nutshell, tax revenue increases coming into the school aid fund will be more modest. With this information in mind, it occurred to me, how in the world is the governor going to pay for all these so-called free initiatives that she proposed in her State of the State address? Raising the per pupil allowance and other normal cost increases we see every year will eat up virtually all of the increased revenue we're going to see this year. Well, I got my answer later that day. Governor Whitmer is proposing to raid the school retiree pension system. She intends to divert hundreds of millions of dollars annually from the pension fund to cover her new initiatives. This maneuver will enable the governor to continue a reckless and irresponsible spending spree even though she's run out of money. Brilliant. Anyone who could spend this much money without actually having it should go to Washington. They'd fit in perfectly. I saw that the governor's justification for siphoning off this money was to ignore language I had put into state law while serving in the House. It requires a minimum funding level into the pension system. The language is abundantly clear, and everyone who negotiated the language knew exactly what it meant. This included the Office of Retirement Services and the State Budget Office, who I negotiated this language with. The language puts in place a requirement that until the debt is paid off, the state cannot reduce its payment in the following year. If anyone wants hard evidence of what was agreed to, on my desk is the fiscal analysis of House Bill 5355 of 2018. It includes a chart provided by ORS of the MIPSR's debt payments over time. The payoff schedule we all agreed to. There is clearly no drop-off of $670 million in 2025. The text is clear. It never ceases to amaze me how progressives can reinvent legal text to mean whatever they want. I put this language in place specifically to prevent the pension fund being raided by money-hungry politicians who give no regard about passing billions of dollars of debt to our kids. When times get tight, instead of making short-term cuts, politicians have a history of placing the burden on our kids. What I didn't foresee was this happening to the pension fund being raided in a time of relatively stable finances. Now everyone keeps asking me, is this legal? Can the governor do this? Well, no is the answer to that question, but that's besides the point. How about we ask the question, is this a good idea? The answer plainly is no. This idea is plain dumb. How about also asking, how much will this cost over time? I haven't seen any estimates of this. Over the long run, I can tell you we will lose billions. Here's another question to consider. Who are the winners in this proposal? Is it our retirees who will have their pension at risk? Is it our kids who will have to pay all this back with interest? When it comes to paying off debt, it is a whole heck of a lot cheaper to pay earlier rather than waiting till later. Now, I was successful at stopping the governor from using accounting tricks to raid the pension system once before. This happened a few years back. She used the same MO. She created a fanciful reason as to why she did not need to adhere to the state's payroll growth assumption that was adopted by the Retirement Board. I requested an opinion from the Attorney General's office, and to my tremendous surprise, I got back an answer, and they said I was correct. So the governor got the Retirement Board to erroneously increase the payroll growth assumption to a rate that was counter to the auditor's recommendations. That set off several years of me going back and forth with the Whitmer administration during budget negotiations to lower the payroll growth assumption once and for all. And in 2022, I got the change put in statute. So here we are again. I'll do my best to try to stop another dumb proposal that doesn't make a lick of financial sense. There is one more thing that we should bear in mind. No matter what, the legislature has the power of the purse. The governor can only divert funds from the pension system if the legislature permits it. I say we should stand together and say no. Thank you, Mr. President.